What is up, guys? It is me again, back with another video, and today is a special one because today we're going to be looking at my official Game Week 1 team selection, my final team selection. Now, I am recording this a little bit before the deadline, and I really doubt there's going to be any last-minute changes, but if there is, it's just basically going to be, a different 4.5 million defender or something like that, very minor. I'm going to post the full final team on the deadline on Instagram, but rest assured, it's 99% likely going to be the same team you see in this video. Not much is going to change. So without further ado, let's talk about the goalkeeper. Now, both the goalkeeper spots have been the same for a little while now. I've gone with Flecken and Valdemarson, the backup Brentford goalkeeper. They're the only two Brentford goalkeepers. So if Flecken does end up getting injured or not playing, then I've got an easy sub on there with Valdemarson. I'm picking Flecken because Brentford do concede a lot of shots from outside the box, which means easy save points for Flecken. There are other goalkeepers that are going to get a lot of save points, but these are going to be goalkeepers from relegation teams like Ipswich and Leicester, all that jazz, Nottingham Forest. Those teams may not have as much clean sheet potential as Flecken, though, because Brentford do have decent clean sheet potential. So if you pair that with the save points, you're going to be looking at some high tallies. Even when he concedes, he could get a bonus point. He could get 2 points for 6 saves. So it's like pretty consistent points week in, week out. Even in game week 2, when he's playing away to Liverpool, they could concede 2 goals, but he could make 6 or 9 saves, maybe get a bonus point, and the score won't be that bad. I think a 4.5 million goalkeeper is the way to go. I don't think you should be paying 5 mil or 5.5 for a goalkeeper when goalkeepers like Flecken, like Dean Henderson, will be within like 10 to 20 points of Raya, Pickford, Leno. Within the first 10 game weeks, there's not much to separate them. So I would recommend, if you are spending 5 or 5.5 mil on a goalkeeper, it may be wise to switch down to Dean Henderson or Flecken and just invest more in your outfield players, because there's a lot more upside there than just going with goalkeepers. When, like I said, you could get someone like Flecken or Henderson who's going to do you just as well. On to the defense now, guys. As you can see, I've got 2 premium defenders, one 4.5 mil defender, and I've got 2 4 million defenders. So I've gone a bit stingy on the defense in some areas. I've had Gvardiol in my Game Week 1 team since the game launched. He has not moved. I think he's got so much potential for clean sheets and so many attacking returns. I think he could be the new Cancelo. Rotation risk is obviously a thing, but I don't think it will be for the first couple of game weeks, considering some players are just coming back from holiday and haven't played much in preseason, so it's less likely he's going to get rotated. And obviously, his form towards the end of the season was impeccable, He was 1 penalty away from getting the first Premier League defender hat-trick, which he was offered but rejected, which still annoys me because he was in my FPL team. And if he did take that penalty and score it, here's another fact for you, he would have got the highest FPL score of all time, which is crazy. I think Wayne Rooney's had that record for about a decade now, so it doesn't look like it's going to get broken anytime soon, but who knows? The next 6 million defender spot was a bit of a struggle, guys. I was leaning towards Robertson, but in the end, I did go with an Arsenal defender. Now, I could go with Gabriel, but because towards the beginning of last season, he was a rotation risk and he wasn't starting every game, I'm going to play it safe and go with Saliba and hope Gabriel doesn't score a header to make me upset. Arsenal clean sheet potential is good, and it's good against any team they play against. Now, I use this logic to decide which 6 million defender I'm going to buy. Arsenal can keep a clean sheet against any team in the league, whether they're playing home or away. So it just seems like the smart move to play an Arsenal defender and have him there, even against games like Tottenham away, Aston Villa away, Man City away, because there's clean sheet potential in any of those games. And I think it'll be quite useful to have those Arsenal clean sheet points. While not, to be fair, a lot of people will have an Arsenal defender, but it will still benefit you points wise quite a bit. So I think it's a good idea to have one there. Not to mention they do play Wolves at home and Brighton at home in game week 1 and 3. So that's also very good. The reason I didn't go with Robertson is because he can sometimes be an early sub. Liverpool are playing under a new manager for the first time and may not be as strong at the back as they used to be, even though they kind of weren't strong at the back in the first place. So, yeah, I'm going to have to give it a miss on Robertson, although I do think he is a good option. If I could save that 1 mil to go for Trent, I would have, but I couldn't. So, I'm not. The cheaper defenders now, Mikalenko is going to rotate with Harwood Bellis and Barco. At least one of them is going to be on the pitch at all times because they kind of have to be, sadly. It's most likely going to be Mikalenko. Hopefully, Barco can stick around until game week 4 or 5 because he will be playing home to Ipswich and Forest 2 game weeks in a row. If you guys didn't know, you probably do now. Some content creators probably already told you, but Barco is on set piece duty and is starting games for Brighton while Estupinian is out injured. Well, that's the likely scenario. Obviously, the manager's going to decide. We don't truly know, but that's probably the situation. But yeah, that's the defense sorted. There's going to be people with better defenses than me, but I'm going with a Haaland and Salah draft, so it's kind of hard to fit people like Trent in my team. Onto the midfield now. Obviously, like I just said, we do have Salah in the team at 12.5 mil. I think he's worth it because, well, while Liverpool do have a new manager and they're not playing under Klopp, who was great for them, Liverpool do have the easiest opening fixture run out of any team in the league, and I feel like you'd be a fool to go without Salah. I truly believe Salah is the number one essential player to get in your Game Week 1 teams, guys. He's had 7 seasons of 200 plus points in a row. A new manager playing slightly further back is not going to phase him that much. He's still going to get so many goals and so many assists. He's still on penalties, and even when Trent's on free kicks, Salah always does a little layoff anyway, so he's going to get assist points for it. So yeah, guys, Salah, number one essential. He's been in my team since the game launched, and he's not going anywhere. I would recommend all of you, if you are still considering a Salah team, I would urge you to go for it. Because if it does go wrong, you can sell him to any other midfielder in the game. And yeah, so what, you have maybe a slow start to the first couple game weeks. You're flexible when you have Salah. Because we do have Salah, we're going cheap with the rest of the midfield. Now, I've got Nkunku on the bench because he's playing home to Man City, but that could change because I'm not sure if Ahmad's going to start in my team or go to the bench. But yeah, Nkunku definitely in my team. Hasn't left since the game launched either. Amazing fixture run after the Man City game, and every expert's already said it. He is criminally underpriced because it's looking likely that he's starting every game for Chelsea, mainly because he's a great player. You know, he was a great player in the Bundesliga, and also he can play attacking mid, striker, left wing, right wing. He can play anywhere. I think he's great if you have a Haaland and or Salah draft because he's a great player to help you save money in your team, which is why I've got it. The other 3 midfielders I've got, I've gone with Eze because his predicted points are insane. He's got more predicted points than the likes of Saka and Son. He's up there with Isak. It's crazy. Now, I know predicted points don't tell the entire story, but Eze is on every single set piece for Crystal Palace. And there's only 2 real goal scorers or 2 main attackers in Crystal Palace now. Elise is gone. It's Mateta and Eze. So if Crystal Palace do score a goal, you can rest assured there is like a 50% chance Eze is involved in it. So if Crystal Palace scored 10 goals in their first 5 game weeks, I think Eze's going to have around 5 goal involvements, and that averages out as a goal involvement every game week. I think that's great, consistent value on returns there. So I've gone with Eze, and I think you would all be fools not to go with Eze. I've seen a lot of teams with players like Gordon, and don't get me wrong, I love Gordon. I'm a huge fan of Gordon. I think even he's underpriced. But for 0.5 mil cheaper, I would recommend you guys go with Eze. That's just me. I may be wrong, but yeah, that's what I think. I've gone with Leon Bailey because the Aston Villa fixture run is insane. Now, looking at their first 2 game weeks on paper, they're quite hard. And game week 2, playing against Arsenal, it is very hard. But playing away to West Ham is easier than it looks because even Michail Antonio came out and said on TV, like, yeah, they're struggling to adapt under the new manager. So teams are going to find little pockets against them. Teams are going to get off on the counter-attack against West Ham. That's Leon Bailey's bread and butter, and I think he's going to exploit it big time. I think he's got a very good chance of getting at least 1 return in those first 2 game weeks. And obviously, game week 3 to game week 9 is an insane fixture run that every single person is going to want to own Aston Villa players for. So I could maybe get Garnacho in his place for the first 2 game weeks, then transfer in Leon Bailey. But with the new addition of being able to bank 5 transfers, I do think it's a lot smarter just to bring in Leon Bailey right now because the West Ham game isn't actually that hard. In fact, it's very good. Finishing off that midfield is Amad Diallo. Now, this team had 0.5 spare, and I was wondering whether to invest it in a 4.5 defender to rotate with Mikalenko or make another player more expensive in my team, maybe. Or I could get rid of my 4.5 midfielder and get a 5 mil midfielder to rotate with my midfield like I'm doing in game week 1. Now, Ten Hag has stated it is Amad Diallo's year. Now, I take that in 2 ways, okay? First, Ten Hag is saying he is going to give Amad Diallo the opportunities to start. He's going to do it. Maybe he'll be an early sub, but he's going to be the first choice at the beginning of the season. or else he'd just be completely contradicting himself. The other way he means it is that Amad Diallo has to prove himself in these starts. So he's going to be hungry and he's going to want to be bagging the goals and getting the assists, which we all know he can. If you saw the Community Shield game, he played very well. And I think he's better than Anthony and Sancho. All of us United fans agree with that statement. So yeah, Amad Diallo, great value for 5 mil. Little bit risky, but when he's your fifth midfielder and he's not really going to be starting every game week, it's fine to spend an extra 0.5 mil on him. That's why I've got Diallo. The reason he's starting in my team is because Man U play the first game of the FPL season on Friday, meaning we could get team leaks. So if I hear anything about Diallo not starting, I can easily rotate him with Nkunku and just leave Diallo on my bench for that game week. So it's actually pretty safe. Now, guys, I did mention it's a Haaland and Salah draft. So looking at that front three, Haaland is going in there at 15 mil. Now, there's big debate on Haaland. His ownership was around 30% when the game launched. I've had him since game week 1. His ownership is getting very close to 50% now. So the game's going to be split in 2 halves. I think Haaland's worth it, but only if you get captaincy right. So you need to be smart with it. If you can pick up Haaland on a brace or a hat trick, a 13-pointer or a 17-pointer, and you double that to 26 or 34, he is 100% going to be worth it for 15 mil because everybody else's premiums that are getting 7, 8, maybe 10 points, it's not going to hurt you as much because you have Haaland on an insane captaincy haul. So I think he's going to be worth it. The beauty of it is if he's not worth it, I'm so flexible, I can literally sell him for anyone in the entire game and just spread my funds elsewhere with the transfers I'm going to be saving early on because I don't plan on making too many transfers early on. So contrary to popular opinion, I do think Haaland is the safer option to go for here because like I just said, you can switch to any player in the game. It's very flexible. As long as you save your transfers, you shouldn't have to take too many hits. Whereas if you go into game week 1 without Haaland and you find out you need him, you're going to have to take hits and disfigure your entire team to bring him in. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Haaland, guys. He's not leaving my team. He's 100% set. Well, to be fair, everyone else is anyway. Don't know why I'm saying that. Finishing off the front three, obviously we've got Isak, highest owned player in the game. All of you should be looking to own him. I understand if you want to back Watkins instead of Isak for 0.5 mil extra, it's a risk, but it could be worth it. Maybe you even own both, or maybe you're just covering the Newcastle attack with Gordon. I personally think Isak is going to be insanely good. It's looking like he's going to be on penalties. Then again, so is Watkins, so you can't really use that. But the fixtures are great, especially the first two. He's got really high expected goal involvements, and with Wilson not being the most reliable guy anymore, Isak's minutes look quite reliable. That's why I've got him in my team. But finally, guys, we're talking about the main reason why everyone's here pretty much. We're talking about Chris Wood. Guys, I love Chris Wood as an FPL asset. There's a lot of doubt as to what his minutes are going to be like, about how he's going to play. In preseason, he bossed it. Towards the end of last season, he bossed it. His conversion rate was so high. He was so clinical. And I don't care if he's 33 years old, okay? There's obviously a lot of debate whether if you're going to pick Wood or you're going to pick Muniz. And a lot of people are going with Muniz. But I'm more of a Chris Wood guy. I think Muniz dropped off in form towards the end of last season. He had 3.7 expected goals and scored 2 from that towards the end of last season, which is not good for a striker. And there is also striker competition for Muniz as well, with Raul Jimenez normally sitting on the bench. Now, I know you can say the same for Chris Wood, but Awoniyi has not played much in pre-season, so I think Chris Wood will be the first choice for the first couple game weeks. And if Chris Wood does score a goal or 2 in those 2 game weeks, I think it will be hard for Nuno to bench Chris Wood in future game weeks if his fitness isn't a problem, which I don't think it should be because it's not like he's only getting a few months older from when he was playing 70 to 80 minutes per game. It's not like it's going to take that much of a toll on his fitness. I do think he's going to be fine. So I'm going to take that risk with Chris Wood. And, if in the first 2 game weeks, it doesn't turn out to be what I hoped, I can take that easy switch to Muniz or Yao Pedro or another cheap forward if Chris Wood doesn't turn out right. So yeah, I'm just going to take the risk on him for now. Muniz does worry me a bit because I was big on Muniz early on, but I did look at the expected goals towards the end of last season. And in the time period, Muniz had 3.7 expected goals and scored 2. Chris Wood had 5.5 expected goals and scored 5, which is way higher. So guys, please keep an eye on Chris Wood. Don't doubt him too much because I think he'll bite a lot of you in the butt. Anyway, guys, yeah, that's my rambling done. This is my FPL team for Game Week 1, 24-25. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with it. There's not much I would change. I have had some tough decisions, But with Haaland and Salah drafts, my decisions are quite limited anyway. If I was doing a draft without Haaland or Salah, I would find it a lot harder to make my decisions. It is hard to go without players like Saka, Palmer, Bruno, and Son. But I really think if I get my captaincy right, Salah and Haaland are going to be just fine in my team. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Remember, join my mini league, okay, guys? X15SDI. Make sure you join the NIT before game week 1. Also, make sure you're subscribing, guys. We've done quite well pre-season. I've gained 50 subscribers in a month, which is a much better start than I could have hoped for. So thank you to all of you who have subscribed and made it this far in the video. You are very much appreciated. But yeah, guys, once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you probably after game week 1. How exciting.